Season 2, episode 29, here with my great friend and one of my favorite guests in Season 2, JFTV Luca. How are you doing, my guy? And yes, I can see it's bright in London.
It is. It's very sunny today in London, you know. Not sure how hot it is yet. I haven't left the house. We'll see later, but I'm doing very good, Alex. How are you, man?
Oh, I'm feeling very, very nervous because we're filming on the big day here in Portugal. Benfica Sporting, title-winning game for Benfica or Sporting that are tied on points. So yes, I'm a bit shaky and crazy, but as perfect mood for us to talk about the Champions League, Europa League, a bit of Ballon d'Or, and a bit of Serie A that Scott McSauce is going bold, as we say in this podcast. But yes, starting with the Champions League, Inter de Milan, PSG's the final. This final is set. How are you feeling, JFT? Because I was not expecting Inter de Milan to go to the final, to be honest with you, because Barca, for everyone, was the best team playing football in the world of football. So, how are you feeling, JFT?
Of course, I'm upset because I'm a Juventus fan and I don't want to see my rivals do well in Italy and succeed. And it hurt a lot seeing Inter go to the second final in 3 years. Of course, that was once Juventus from 2015 to 2017. So it's a bit frustrating seeing your rivals do it and your team struggling in the last few years in Europe. But to be honest, man, I also thought that Barcelona were going to beat Inter. I said in my match preview on TikTok that, I thought it would be a Barca PSG final. However, I said that if any team can hurt Barcelona, it would have been Inter, mostly due to the fact that Barcelona's defense is extremely weak. They play a very high line, and Inter's quick transition football is just the opposing style of football that Barcelona play. So it'd literally be a clash of two titans, and that was exactly what it was: high scoring, entertaining, and it was a really good game for a neutral. I wasn't a neutral, of course. I was supporting Barcelona in that game. I went on a 2-match loan, but. It was a great game of football, to be fair. It was one of the all-time great games in the Champions League, at least in my lifetime. And I think the final itself will be a sort of similar semi-final tie in the sense that PSG will dominate the ball. PSG have the attacking players that can hurt Inter. But at the same time, Inter will still base their biggest assets around that transition football. But PSG have a much stronger defense, in my opinion, than Barcelona. So I think it's going to be an even tougher game for Inter in that final, just because PSG resonate a little bit with the style of football that Barcelona play, but they got a stronger back line, in my opinion. That's more reliable.
They have better fullbacks and a better goalkeeper. That is factual.
Sure.
Nuno Mendes, Donnarumma, head-to-head, beat any of the Barca players, my opinion. Nuno Mendes, Valde, that is a discussion for some people. But
Valde wasn't even healthy. Valde didn't even play against Inter, so...
Exactly. And about this Inter game, Barca-Inter game, what I really want to say is the kryptonite of Barcelona is playing against a team of 3 at the back. Because it's a head-to-head confrontation with Rafinha, with Ferran Torres or Lewandowski, and Lamine Yamal. It's not even a head-to-head. It's a 3-1, as Simone Inzaghi stated. But I appreciate what Inter are doing because Simone Inzaghi does deserve a lot more recognition than he actually gets. And yes, getting to 2 UCL finals in 3 seasons, it shows it's the system, it's the style of play, and it's the conviction that the team has towards what his tactics completely. And no doubt, the best team in the world with 3 at the back must be considered Inter de Milan. And the recruitment, it's amazing. It can be seen as underrated for some people because they're not talked enough, in my opinion, in the sense that Di Marco, Bastoni, Barella, Lautaro Martinez, and even Sommer and Dumfries, they're the best in their position in the world of football. You cannot name 5 better players than these players in each of those positions. So I gotta give big credit to Inter de Milan that honestly, if they win the Champions League that they have won in the past 15 years ago, and PSG's never won it, I wouldn't be surprised. Because yes, the favoritism is going to be translated to PSG, but fun fact, it's the first time that PSG and Inter de Milan will be facing each other in the Champions League too. So it's...
I didn't know that. That's a really good
would you say that Simone Inzaghi is a top 3 manager in the world of football considering this season?
What?
This season.
No, not this season. No, do you know what it is, Alex? Yeah, I said this on my TikTok, and The thing is, I need to address this video, right? I
Yes.
said that I thought Inzaghi was a little bit overrated, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to explain my points, but people obviously did not listen. They just heard my statement that he's overrated. They see Inter's in the Champions League final and they're all clipping me up. It's fine. But
No,
what I
but
was saying, right?
here we listen.
Here we listen. I appreciate that. With Inzaghi, I think he's a good coach. I think he's a very good knockout stage coach. Okay, I don't think he's a great league manager at all. I said that he's not the best coach in Italy. Antonio Conte is the best coach in Italy. I'm never going to change my mind on that. I think he's a much better manager than Inzaghi. I look at Inzaghi's resume at Inter. He came from Lazio, where he won, I think, a Supercoppa and a Coppa Italia there. It is impressive. And he was pretty much in a Scudetto race for a lot of the 1920 season before COVID happened. So I'll give him that. He was very good for Lazio. And let's say since their Scudetto winning campaign in the early 2000s, he was probably their best coach, right? He comes to this Inter team that was already built for him by Antonio Conte. Okay, let's just say it as it is. Antonio Conte built up that Inter team from nothing. They were a very, very weak team going into the 1920 season. He turned them into a title challenging team in the 1920 season because Juventus won the league. He took them
With
to Europa League final with Lukaku. He turned Lukaku into, Lukaku's prime was under Conte. He turned Lautaro Martinez into the striker that we know him to be. He took Barella to his highest heights, gave Bastoni the opportunity to show himself as that modern day libero defender. He built that team, and in the second season, he won the league with Inter, Conte. He then left in the summer, and Inzaghi came in. But he left Inzaghi the best team in Italy on paper, for sure. Like, there's no two ways about that. Going into the 21-22 season, the favourite for the league, once again, was Inter, with or without Conte. In that season, he won the Supercoppa, he won the Coppa Italia, again proving why he's a good cup manager. This is what I'm saying. He's a good cup manager. But he lost the league to their direct rivals in AC Milan. Through that season, I feel like that season, they weren't necessarily better than Inter. Inter on top for a lot of the season. They sort of threw it away. They had Rafa, of course. They had Leao. They did have Leao, who that season won MVP, and he deservedly so. But they weren't better than Inter, in my personal opinion. So in his first year with the best team in Italy, he didn't win the league. He should have won the league. In the second season, the 22-23 season, he should have won the league. Again, he had the best team on paper, but I'm going to give it benefit of the doubt anomaly because Spalletti's Napoli played incredibly well that season. On the pitch, they were the best team in Italy, so they definitely deserve that league title.
Min-Jae Kim, Osimhen, Kvaratskhelia, Lobotka. That's going to be a historic team for Napoli fans.
Exactly. So that league title, although at the start of the season and throughout the season, in my opinion, they're the better team on paper, Inter. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, just the way that Napoli were playing.
And that's Marotta too, also having a say with transfers in recruitment.
Of course,
correct?
We'll get on to Marotta after for sure. But they still won. I think in the 22-23 season, they still won the Coppa Italia and the Supercoppa. I'm pretty sure. Again, proving he's a good cup manager, and he took them to the Champions League final that year, right? Where they narrowly lost to City. They actually played very well in that final. Inter. Then in the third season, he finally wins the Scudetto. But last season in the 23-24 season, the biggest rival for the league was us. But the title race was ended in February. It wasn't a proper title race. Everyone knew that Inter were going to win it throughout the whole season. And he did win it, okay? With, once again, the best team on paper in Italy. This season comes round. He's still got the best team on paper in Italy. And right now, he's lost the Supercoppa final to Milan. He's lost the Coppa Italia semi-final to Milan. So in the cups, in the domestic cups, sorry, he's not performing. He underperformed, for sure.
Which, just want to say, Conceição is also a good cup manager. Because look at Porto in the Champions League.
Yeah, very good cup manager.
Results.
And now, as of recording, Inter are 3 points behind the league leaders, Napoli. And I know Napoli's only playing one game a season. I understand that. But if you compare the two teams on paper, they're not comparable at all. Napoli lost their best player in January. They did not replace him. They replaced him with Okafor on loan, who is not good at all. So you compare the two teams. Once again, Inter have the best team on paper. They could obviously win the league. Napoli could fumble it. But right now, it's in Antonio Conte's hands. And he's the best league manager in the world, in my opinion. And his three last games are very, very, they're much easier than Inter's last three games, okay? So I look at the league. Let's just say, hypothetically, he doesn't win the league this year. In 4 years, he would have won one Scudetto, which is not a very good return. That's what I was saying. I think, and if he wins the Champions League, granted, of course, all will be forgotten. Inter fans will not care. Nobody will care, and I totally understand that. But if he doesn't win the Champions League either, and he doesn't win any cups this season, that's not a good return. and he would have won one league title in 4 years. It's not the best. It's not the best return at all. If you look at Allegri at Juventus, he won 5 league titles in a row from the team that Antonio Conte built up, and that Juventus team was better than this Inter
And it's
team.
always Conte building the team.
It's always Conte building the team, which is another reason why I think he's better than Inzaghi. But this Inter team is still the best team in Italy. So I think they definitely underperformed league-wise in the last 4 years. If they win the Champions League, like I said, all will be forgotten. But I think Inzaghi is a really good cup manager. Some managers are really good in the league, like Conte. He's not a very good cup manager. Some managers are very good in the cup, like Inzaghi. Some are very good at both, a Pep Guardiola or a Jurgen Klopp or something like that, right? But typically, it's hard to be, I would say, one of the best coaches in the world in both them regards. But I do think Inzaghi is good, though.
Luca, just wanted to say, because of what you're saying, aligning with your thoughts, it's because some managers are better in preparation before an opposition. They study the opposition. And other managers that just dictate their own style of play. This is our philosophy. We're going to dominate, and this is how we do things. Like the likes of Guardiola, Jose Mourinho too in his prime, and Klopp, like you said. But others adapt to the opposition. And Simone Inzaghi, he's very good to see the weaknesses of the opposing team and just getting it. See, clearly, Ronald Araújo was exposed the moment he came on.
That's the thing. And in the in-game tactics, I think he's one of the best in the world in terms of how he changes his system and his players. But I just want to say something, right? I've seen a lot of people on social media saying, "Oh, look at Inzaghi's working with bums." I think this is a really lazy take from these people. They clearly don't watch the Serie A. Extremely lazy.
Bums.
It's very disrespectful. It's very disrespectful. I've seen the amount of videos I'm seeing saying, "Are you looking at the bums?" These are words from other human beings, right, on the internet. Are you looking at the bums that Inzaghi's working with? Yeah, it's insane to me because I'm just like, it's fair enough. If you don't watch the Serie A, that's fine. But don't be calling these guys bums when they're really look in the grand scheme of things. People like Mkhitaryan, of course, they're aging. Of course, at Arsenal, he wasn't the player that we all thought he would be. But at Inter, he's improved massively, and he's so integral to their system.
Do they call him a bum?
They call all these people, apart from Barella, Bastoni, and Thuram.
And maybe Dumfries, because Dumfries can play well for Man United.
Exactly. And Di Marco. They're the only ones that really get respect. Even Acerbi, look. Acerbi is a solid centre-back. But he's been solid since Lazio times. Yeah, it's a great story as well.
And I said we follow Simone Inzaghi.
Exactly,
that's very well stated.
Yeah,
37 years old. What a story. Beating cancer twice, too.
Exactly. Really impressive. Great guy. Not that I've met him, but a great story, Seems like a great guy.
You could see he's very, like, the moment that was. Like, Frateggi, too. Like, we can say great guy. Frateggi should be the mood. Like, I'd love to go on with Frateggi. He should be a mood.
He is a super sub, to say the least, But look, this Inter team is very good on paper. People could say what they want about their names. Maybe the names aren't the superstar names that a Barcelona or a Man City or a Liverpool or a PSG have. It doesn't matter because at the end of the day, system wins matches. And look at Italy in the Euros 2021. We weren't the best team on paper by a mile, but the way we played, it was just flawless, really. And I knew we were going to win that tournament from match day one. Not because we had the best players or the biggest difference makers. If anything, a France or an England had more world-class players, for example, but it's the system that counts. And this Inter team is one of the most well-drilled, dynamic systems in Italy. But at the same time, they're beatable. They're not let's say, an omnipotent force. I've seen Fiorentina beat them. I've seen Juventus beat them this season. So
they're beatable, especially outside of San Siro. Because in San Siro in the Champions League, that becomes a different atmosphere. It's insane. And I get the feeling that they're unbeatable there in the Champions League almost. But in Munich, I don't get that same feeling, honestly. And the thing that I say, aligning with what you said again, Luca, it's both PSG and Inter de Milan are the two best teams of European giants, you can say, making decisions in terms of recruitment. Just look at the decision of letting go of an Onana and getting Jan Sommer. Yeah. Insane! That is a master class. And PSG didn't get one transfer wrong this summer. This summer, they didn't. They just didn't. Even Safonov as a replacement for Donnarumma, that's a great move because Donnarumma can't play all games with the amounts of competitions that they have. And he doesn't want to play all games too, Donnarumma. He likes to have a rest because he's got that confidence, Donnarumma, that he's the best goalkeeper in the world. We saw it in the Euros, and if PSG wins the Champions League, the world's going to say it. He's better than anyone, Donnarumma.
Look, Donnarumma, for me, I've always defended Donnarumma. I've always thought he is one of the best keepers in the world. And when I saw him in his early days at AC Milan, for me, he was destined to be number one eventually.
At 16.
There was no... At 16, your name's Gianluigi. Come on, following in the footsteps of Mr. Buffon. It was inevitable, Just like I think it's inevitable that one day Donnarumma will end up at Juventus. I can't. That's just like he's like the most non-Juventus player ever. He has to play for us one day.
I can see it. 100%.
But on Donnarumma, I'm so glad he's getting the respect he deserves now. Finally, I've seen a lot of people over the years slating him on social media, saying he's overrated, this, that, and the other. Disrespecting him, saying he's not even Italy's best goalkeeper. This is disrespect. This is blatant disrespect. And I'm not saying he's not made mistakes for PSG in big games, because he definitely has. Okay, There's been times where he has messed up, whatever. But This season, he has been by far and away the best performer for any goalkeeper in the Champions League, coming up huge in big moments. Aston Villa, coming up huge against Arsenal in those first 15 minutes of that second leg. Arsenal were really, really putting the pressure on PSG, and he kept them in that tie. So a lot of respect to Donnarumma, and I really hope he can bring the Champions League back to Paris. But I just want to add on to the recruitment bit that you were talking about, Alex. Of course, we need to give respect to Beppe Marotta, because he's the best. I think he's the best sporting director in the world. And it's quite interesting, really, because...
I think it's Luis Campos at PSG. Portuguese man.
But this is... I know you're going to defend your man. Is Marotta my man? I don't know. He left Juventus. I can't really say he is. But it's interesting because they have not two different philosophies, but they're in two completely opposing scenarios, where Inter do not have the financial backing like PSG. But I'm going to give respect, because PSG have to work with a lot of money, but they need to get their transfers correct. When you're spending 60, 70 million, you cannot mess up. So players like Kvaratskhelia, João Neves, they spent loads of money on, but they're performing, and they're two of the best players in their position.
Exactly. And I say Luis Campos because of what he did at Monaco. That was that team with Bernard Silva, Mbappe, insane. And after at Lille, he got Renato Sanches in his prime. Well, prime at Liga, and Rafael Leão also. So he did a really good job at Lille too. That's why I say it.
No. Great sporting director too. And then obviously Marotta is similar, but he has to work with a lot less resources. I'm talking free transfers. I'm talking aging players that weren't, you don't associate with a second chance, or that can still make the difference. So they're two very good sporting directors in two very different situations at the minute. But yeah, man, recruitment is key for every club.
Well, let's see this summer, because Inter de Milan has 120 million going into the bank with the Champions League results.
But they
guaranteed.
have a lot of debt. They have a lot of debt, Inter. They have a lot of financial situations that I don't want to make accusations here, but let's just say the Serie A protected.
Love it. We'll talk more at the end with Serie A and PSG. So all I want to say is, Kylian Mbappe leaves, João Neves comes on, Champions League final appears. That's what I gotta say. And if João Neves is not in the top 20 of the Ballon d'Or, what could he have done?
Oh, for sure.
What could he have done? I agree that Pedri's the best midfielder in the world, but the best midfield altogether, it's Vitinha, João Neves, and Fabian Ruiz. That is also underrated for how good he is. Fabian Ruiz could win. He won the Euros last summer, and he could win now the Champions League. It's insane. And it's Luis Enrique. It's just an overcoming, the motivation that Luis Enrique has in his life with all that happened since he won the Champions League with Barcelona. It's just so much motivation for someone that likes football. And you got to appreciate and recognize what Luis Enrique is doing at PSG is absolutely historical. So we're witnessing something that has never happened. That it's now maybe PSG winning the Champions League. And did you see Nasser Al-Khelaifi? 600 employees. You're flying into Munich to back up the team. That's the culture, man.
You got respect
if he can do it. And then you have United that's cutting food and lunches. And this man is flying everyone to Munich to celebrate with the team.
But do you know what it is, Alex? I saw a stat as well that it's like every time there's been a Champions League final in Munich, the team that's never won a Champions League going into it has won it. 4 from 4 so far.
Ooh. Now, it was Forest, right? Forest.
So it was Forest, Chelsea 2012. I want to say Benfica. I think
Benfica, yes. I think Benfica also.
And there's another team that I forgot. I think...
Let us know in the comment section down below the other team. Let us know. But yes. with PSG, I love even the statement after the game of Luis Enrique just saying, "We're in the Farmers League, right?"
I like that.
Yet
as well.
they beat Man City in the group stage. They beat Liverpool in the round of 16, Aston Villa in the quarterfinals, and Arsenal fans that were in pure denial at the end of that match. Pure denial, okay? 0 trophies, another season back-to-back, and you were knocked out, deservingly so, by PSG. I just think it's so unrealistic sometimes, Arsenal fans. They're saying this, that, and the other thing. And what did we say, Luca, the first time we filmed? They obviously need a striker. Yes, you have 4 point something expected goals, this, that, and the other thing. But it's not the expected goals that are going to put the shot in the net and actually have that goal. And you didn't have that. You needed clearly that striker in Saka, obviously. If that had come on, that would have changed the game. But again, Gianluigi Donnarumma made it happen. So, how are you feeling, Luca, with all this Ronev's chat that I'm mentioning and Vitinha? Do you consider the best midfield in the world, the PSG midfield this season?
I think so, Alex. I think this season they have been the most well-balanced midfield. I think they're the most entertaining midfield to watch. They're definitely the most technical midfield in the world. And I think Joao Neves is obviously getting all the praise and deservedly so. I think Vitinha's also getting a lot of hype and deservedly so. But as you said earlier, I think Fabian is super, super underrated. And I think his growth since when I was watching him consistently in the Serie A to now has been really monumental. I think
at Napoli,
at Napoli, of course. I think when he went to PSG, I was sort of like, it's a good move for him personally, but I didn't know if he was going to make really a big step up, a big jump up, but he really has. And last season in the Euros, I thought he was a better performer for Spain than Pedri and Rodri, in my opinion.
Maybe Olmo too, but Olmo
I think he was probably their best midfielder, Fabian, and I would say the best player alongside Lamine in the Euros winning campaign, in my opinion. And I think this season he's carried on that great form, and I think he could be definitely a contender for potentially pushing for the FIFA World 11, maybe. I think he's super underrated. I think he's super underappreciated. And that goal he scored against Arsenal was just a beautiful strike. Beautiful. Top technique. You need to be a top player to do those sort of things. And I'm really excited to see.
Can do that, yeah.
Exactly. So I'm really excited to see him in the final. Look, I agree with you. I think Pedri is the best midfielder in the world. I agree with you there. But I think he's top 5 maybe this season, to be honest, Fabian Ruiz.
So. And he's like an 8 and a 10. He can play at the 10 role as an offensive midfielder. And yes, he can dictate the tempo too as an 8. Yeah, I agree with you. Incredibly underrated. And you mentioned Lamine Yamal fast. How are you feeling with all this Lamine Yamal? Like over the 2 legs, for me, Lamine Yamal was the man of the matches. He was the show, sure. Lamine Yamal, every time he touched that ball. So how are you feeling with Lamine?
Yeah, he's a joy to watch, Alex. He's a joy to watch. He's incredible, I think he's right now the best player in the world. I think he's the best footballer in the world at 17.
We agree.
I don't think it's crazy to say, I've been so over the last few years, I'm so stern on whenever people ask me the best player in the world, I don't even base it off form. I just go Mbappe. I think Mbappe is the best player in the world. But right now, my shift has actually changed, and I think Lamine surpassed him. And I think, you know what it is? I think it's going to be a situation.
Mbappe goes to Real.
It's very unfortunate for him.
It's poetic, mate.
But I'm going to say something I don't think you'll like, Alex, but I think it's going to be this, man. For the next 16 years, the Yamal Mbappe sort of, let's say, rivalry is going to be like the Messi-Ronaldo one. For the next 16 years, Mbappe will never be a better footballer than Yamal, just like Ronaldo since 2008 has never been a better footballer than Messi. Okay, as a pure footballer, since 2008, Ronaldo has never been better than Messi. Granted, he's won Ballon d'Ors in that period, but that's only
I don't agree with the Ronaldo, but I agree with the Lamine.
Very oxymoron, my friend, but fair enough.
But with Lamine Yamal, this is the thing. And I saw even a commentator stating this, and I found it really funny. It's if you show 10-minute clips of Lamine Yamal, Mbappe, Rafinha, anyone against Lamine, Salah, Saka, everyone's going to say Lamine is the better player. Because what Lamine does is just different. It's generational. It's what inspires generations to play football. It's what makes people buy tickets to go see football in the stadium. Lamine Yamal is absolutely... it's just so shocking to me that Barcelona just develops a player like this, and he he just has the best season when Mbappe goes to Real Madrid. It's just crazy. Imagine what's in Kylian Mbappe's head. I score more than 35 goals. The team's not working out. Barcelona wins the Supercopa, wins the Copa del Rey, and they're gonna win the La Liga. I think they're gonna win the La Liga at least.
Yeah, most
like
likely.
Mbappe must be going nuts. Mbappe must be saying, like, my Ballon d'Ors are running away from me. And Vinicius Jr. will not win a Ballon d'Or in the next 2-3 years. For sure. In my opinion.
I don't think Alex Vidi will ever win a Ballon d'Or in his career.
It was his best chance against Rodri. And that's why the whole Real Madrid team was like, okay, drop the mic. Mbappe, we know he's coming. He's not going to win it. He's not going to win it in the future.
Think so. Oh. I think with Lamine, it's just like a man that good at that age, it's not normal. It's not like... You're older than me, of course, but I've never seen anyone that good at that age, to be honest. And I don't even think, when I was looking at the numbers of the appearances and stuff, he's already got over 100 appearances for Barcelona at 17. That's not normal. And like Messi had, I think, not even 20 at that age or something like that. So I'm not comparing the two, of course, but I'm just saying, like, to have that many appearances at such a young age is really, really impressive. And then
the mentality.
It's the mentality.
He was like with the 100 games jersey, say, I'm not happy, I drew.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell's happening?
And then when you look at him in those both them legs, like you said, he was the best player. He was best player on both the pitches. In the second leg, he had 0 goal contributions, but that still was one of the best and most impactful 0 contribution game I've seen in a very long time. Facts. And then when you just watch him, when you see a team have to put at least two players around him every time he has the ball, that's when you know someone's good at football. When you know someone's really the difference maker, it's how they defend against them. When they put Bastoni and Di Marco, and they have to double up every time. And then the centre mid covering as well. It's just like, you're good at football, So at the end of the day, I really don't. I think I'm sure we'll touch on the Ballon d'Or. For me, if I could give it to anyone, I would give it to Lamine Yamal. I think he's the best player in the world, and he's gonna win the league in my opinion. He's won the Super Cup with Barcelona as well. I know. Typically, the Champions League winner is a favourite for the Ballon d'Or. And if PSG were to win the Champions League, I think they would edge it to Dembele, which I totally understand. Okay, I totally understand the context. But if Inter were to win it, I don't think Inter has a Ballon d'Or favourite at all. So I think it's going to go... No, not for me. Win it. So I think if Inter win it, it's going to go into like that debate situation where it's like a Salah is back in there, a Lamine is back in there, a Rafinha is back in the debate. And that's where I think Lamine will probably have a better chance. But if PSG do win it, I think it will go to Dembele. And I wouldn't be annoyed. I think he's had a great, great season.
That's fair enough. Like the scenario, if Inter de Milan wins the Champions League, the Ballon d'Or is also, it becomes an open race. I agree with that. But Salah, for me, should not win it because Nunes absolutely neutralized Mo Salah in a way that in 2 legs, the best player in the world cannot be neutralized that way. Completely. But yes, I do understand he's the best left back in the world of football. Best left side, I understand Di Marco Bastoni. They complete each other, but best left back, just one player, he neutralized Mo Salah. But that's a very interesting statement because yes, if PSG wins the Champions League, I believe in pole position, Ousmane Dembele will also be there. But let's not forget the FIFA Club World Cup. That could also have a hand. And if PSG wins the Champions League, they've won the Super Copa of they've won the Super I don't know if they call it Super Copa in France, but they won the title of the Super Copa in France. They've won the league, not unbeaten, but they dominated to win this league. They're gonna win the Coupe de France. All trophies, all national trophies, PSG's gotten it. If they win the Champions League and the FIFA Club World Cup
as well,
Exactly, no doubt Ousmane Dembele has to get this. And that's the thing. Remember, Luca, when people compared Ousmane Dembele with Kylian Mbappe, say he was a bigger talent, now those people could be right because the decision of Dembele to stay in Paris and be the main man, that was the right call. And having 45 matches, 33 goals, 10 assists. I have to give kudos to Ousmane Dembele. That a lot of people criticize him when he leaves Barcelona to PSG. And maybe it's because he already knew that a kid named Lamine Yamal was in La Masia. Maybe,
yeah. And sometimes you need a change of scenarios, don't you? Maybe he felt more at home back in his home country of France. And look, I'm really happy for him because, like we said, that star talent at Rennes and then at Dortmund, what we saw was it was just raw talent, really. And typically we don't really see players, I would say, reach the pinnacle. It's hard to explain, but a lot of the time we see players really young burst onto the scene, do really, really well when they're young, and sort of fade off. They can't really maintain that sort of consistency, right? But Dembele showed so much talent, had a lot of injury problems, was really up and down, and people were like, oh, will he really reach his full potential? And now at the age of 28, when players should be in their prime, I think he's 28, 29, he is in his prime, and it's just really good to see, you know.
It's deserving. It's deserving, and people criticize them, not criticize them, but they felt it was the wrong move at that time to going from Dortmund to Barcelona. And now he's in the right place at the right time. So I'm just happy for Dembele that currently for me, he's in pole position to win the Ballon d'Or. But again, it's still an open race currently. And if I were to pick through from how they play, I also agree with you. Lamine Yamal would be my pick because he's the best right winger in football at the age of 17. Next season is going to be insane. La Liga is the one who wins with all this. La Liga wins with the rise of Barcelona.
But look, yeah, La Liga, you know, the amount of talent they produce is ridiculous. And, you know, I saw a thing at the start of the season, right? I remember I made a video on it maybe last August or July when Mbappe was confirmed. I saw like a little Instagram post and it was like in the 2000s, Real Madrid had the Galacticos, but Barcelona had obviously other good players, but the main man was Ronaldinho. And he stopped them. Then in the 2010s...
And Figo went from Barca to Real.
Yeah, Real Madrid. And then in the 2010s, obviously, you had a very dominant Real Madrid team, but Barcelona's main man was Messi, who stopped them. And now in the 2020s, you got the Mbappes, the Rodrigos, the Vinny's, the Judes. And they were like, could Lamine Yamal be the next guy to stop them? And it's mad that in the first season, he's done that already. So
thank you, La Masia, for doing so. Because it's not signings. It's La Masia producing these talents. Cubarsí and Lamine Yamal are of the same generation. And at the age of 17 and 18, you can consider them, respectively, the best in their position. It's absolutely insane. But yes, let us know your thoughts about the Champions League and the Ballon d'Or in the comment section down below. Who's going to win it? And then we can tag you if you get it right in the future podcast and when we know who is going to win. So, Champions League, that's been talked. Now, Europa League, how are you feeling? Living in London, you're seeing Tottenham fans sometimes having a meltdown and sometimes celebrating. What's happening with Tottenham?
No,
it's insane.
It's day 3 of the Tottenham, you know, they say, Alex. No, you know what it is? It's kind of crazy to think that two teams that are
so
low bottom half of the Premier League are in the Europa League final. And this would have never happened in the old format if teams dropped down from the Champions League. No doubt in my mind, these two teams would not be this far in the competition. But I think it's a good final in the sense that it's a little English rivalry. I know they're not traditional rivals, Tottenham and United, of course, but there's going to be that English rivalry there. United haven't beaten Tottenham since 2022. I'm not sure if you've heard this stat, which is ridiculous.
And Ronaldo was the man to beat them. Ronaldo himself took the game in his hands.
Exactly. So that's crazy to think that it's been that long since United have beaten Tottenham. So that will give Tottenham a lot of confidence going into this final.
True.
And but then again, United are a better team in Europe, so maybe the heritage plays into it. I think there's a lot of different storylines here, you know, and I think it will be really, really interested in. And obviously, it's going to be bragging rights too. I think whatever happens, in the summer, Arsenal fans are going to get slandered because that's the result. Let's be honest. Because whatever happens, whether United win or Tottenham win, one of them will be bragging how they finished like 16th, 17th, 15th, whatever it is, and be like, I've won a trophy and I'm also in the Champions League. Like you. Who had a better season?
And Arteta, 5 seasons, more than 700 million spent.
Yeah.
No FA Cup, no League Cup. The Newcastle, kudos to them. They win a trophy after so many years, more than 50 years. And they have a striker, Alexander Isak. Like, come on. How doesn't Arsenal just give a blank check to Alexander Isak? It's so fitting. Like, Odegaard played with Isak at Real Sociedad. It's so obvious to me, those types of things. But I like that Arsenal fans they get a bit of a humble pie. Because, yes, I didn't like how they reacted, and Arteta reacted after the PSG game. Even Luis Enrique says, that's my great friend, but he's wrong. That guy's wrong. What is he on about?
Arteta, I get he defends his players and everything, but I definitely think I definitely think his name might be in a bit of question because, like you said, 700 million spent. Since he's been at Arsenal, he's only won one FA Cup, I think 2 Community
Yep.
Shields. But let's be
Yep.
honest, Community Shields are their Mickey Mouse trophies. They're not
And
trophies
FA Cup was with Aubameyang when he had a striker.
Come on,
And
it was
like
in
I said,
lockdown. Yeah, come on, it was 2020 times. You know.
but
Since
you
then-
can say the same from Liverpool, and now they've proven themselves with the same team with the references.
But
Van Dijk,
Liverpool-
Robertson, Salah.
Yeah, it's true, but Liverpool were, I would say, challenging more than Arsenal in that period where they were going to Champions League finals. They almost won quadruples. You know, it was a bit more unfortunate there. But I think this Arsenal team, I think, is a very good team. I would personally say that Arteta has one more season where he really I don't think he'll get sacked this summer, but I think Arsenal, look, they confirmed what Zubimendi today. They've bought. They're probably they will buy a striker in the summer. I'm guessing maybe a left winger. So this will be it. If you don't win the league next season or the Champions League, you gotta go. In my
100%.
opinion,
I agree with you. I agree with you. And if Arsenal sign, if Arsenal has already signed now Zubimendi, as we can see with Fabrizio Romano, if they also get a Vitor Gyökeres and a Nico Williams, and you're still not winning trophies, Arteta is going to get the blame 100%. Because yes, Martinelli, I think he's limited. Trossard, I think he's limited. If you're facing a team like PSG with Gianluigi Donnarumma ahead of you, okay? So that's the thing, and it's mad. It's mad. But let's wait and see what's going to happen, because in terms of transfers, I do think that Arsenal, they're getting more right than wrong. Like Timber, I think, was a great transfer. Declan Rice, obviously, that was an insane move. And yes, even David Raya. A lot of people criticized Arteta for wanting to replace Ramsdale for Raya, but now, as we can see, that was the right choice too. That Raya defended. It was the first miss from Vitinha in a penalty. That was Raya defended it. So big credit to David Raya for that moment.
I don't like his penalty technique, to be honest.
But it's the most difficult types of penalties to do. It's that way, mate.
I know.
Come on, the execution.
Like, if he was on my team doing that, I would have a heart attack every time. You know? I like it when players run up fast and smash it.
I get you.
Hey, Ronaldo, you know.
But for the goalkeepers, that's the worst type of penalty they can face, because they're waiting until they do something and then Vitinha automatically reacts. Let us know in the comments this penalty discussion. It's funny. But let's assume now Tottenham wins the Europa League. Let's imagine this happens. Will Ange Postecoglou stay?
Yeah, I think if he wins it, they'll keep him for sure. I mean, come on, that would have been the club's biggest achievement. Probably since the double at 61, to be fair.
Mate, you know, I'd love, because Ange Postecoglou is being criticized non-stop, okay? And I think it's a bit unfair, because this team is clearly a team of youngsters, like Archie Gray, Lucas Bergvall. It's a lot of Jade Spence. There's a lot of players that are still growing in the Premier League, and a lot of people point fingers at Ange Postecoglou. Imagine he wins the Europa League and he says, enough is enough. I'm just having a burn down. I win the trophy for Tottenham, and he drops the mic and he leaves on his own, wanting to do that. Yeah, like Conte is still one of the best managers in the world, correct, Luca? Ange could be considered.
Yeah, I think if Ange won a trophy with Tottenham, especially Europa League, it'd be one of the greatest managerial achievements probably of this century. You know, so for a Tottenham to win a European trophy, that would be mental, and I think it's very, very possible. Like, I know they won't have James Maddison in the final, who's injured, but I still think with the record that they have, with the confidence that the players will be going into this game with, and I think there'll be more pressure on United, to be honest, than Tottenham, in my personal opinion, going into this game. And I think it's very possible, and it would be interesting to see if he was to leave the club, like if he sort of won, thanked everyone, then moved on, because he has gotten a lot of unfair criticism, I would say, with a lot of injuries and things like that.
And there would be interest for Ange Postecoglou. I could see him going to European giants. Maybe in Italy? Juventus? No?
I don't want him.
Igor Tudor.
I know. I only want one manager, to be honest, Alex, but yeah.
That manager's at Napoli.
Oh,
interesting talk. We'll get to it. But starting with, but I want to mention Man United in this sense. And here at FC Wonderkid, I've been spammed when Man United has a bad result. Oh, you talked about Ruben. You said Ruben was very good. He's not doing too good. But come on, people. The problem of Manchester United is obviously not the managers, as we see throughout the years. And I can say confidently, with what I see and the development that's been happening, not in the Prem, but in the Europa League, and the confidence, like a player like Maguire, Casemiro, Rasmus Højlund, they all see Mason Mount now. They all see the Europa League as an opportunity to prove themselves to stay next season in this team. Luke Shaw, Lindelof, Anthony, Rashford, Eriksen. These are all players that you can let them go, and you'll have more than 1 million in salaries a week. That's gonna be free to sign big players. So I have to give credit to players like Maguire, Mount, Casemiro, that they're nourishing this opportunity in the Europa League. And if they stay for the next season, I could see it happen. So, Luca, what's your feeling with Ruben Amorim and Manchester United? Because I state that Ruben Amorim, if I were to pick a team in the Premier League with 300 million budget, Ruben Amorim would be my choice ahead of Arteta and ahead of Arne Slot too. That I know he won the Premier League, but a lot of the foundation was done by Jurgen Klopp. And Ruben Amorim is building the foundation of Man United. So, how are you feeling with Ruben, Luca?
Well, of course, Alex, you can give a better representation than myself because I don't watch a lot of Portuguese football, meaning you've seen a lot more than him, a lot more of him than me, sorry. Look, with United in the Premier League, I definitely think he came into a situation that was very toxic, very radioactive, and you cannot put really the majority blame on him, of course not. And I think if he was to win this Europa League, he would have worked miracles, just like Ange did. So it's a very similar situation for both managers, in my opinion. So I think this situation of also him getting a lot of, I would say, improving a lot of the footballers, like you said, Maguire's coming into his own now. Casemiro's improved drastically. Amad Diallo this season has been incredible. Bruno Fernandes, for me, has been, he's been probably United's best performer for 85% of his time at United since he joined the club. But I think this season he's really taken it to a whole new level in terms of leadership, in terms of big game moments under Amorim. I personally I wouldn't get rid of him in the summer if he was to leave United. I think it'd be a really stupid decision by the club. Yeah. No. It'd be a very stupid decision. I have seen some United fans question him and think maybe he's not the right man, but I think with United, it's a situation of ever since Ferguson left, nobody's really been able to replicate that. And you getting one manager out for another one every season is so pointless, And I think what he's building is something that could be sustainable for the future. You need to give him time. And I think Alex, he's a good manager.
And you mentioned Bruno Fernandes, and you did see the Al Hilal bid of 100 million a season. If Bruno Fernandes refuses Al Hilal that are offering 100 million for 3 seasons, that is clear dedication, and he wants to become a Man United legend. This is a man that wants to win the league, and he trusts Ruben Amorim. That was a right appointment, in my point of view, still, for the Manchester United job. This season, Bruno Fernandes has been better than Martin Odegaard, Kevin De Bruyne, and I would say Cole Palmer too, because where's Cole Palmer now? Where's Cole Palmer now? Bruno Fernandes has stepped up massively for this team. And just imagine Bruno in the Arsenal team. Okay, with Partey and Declan Rice behind him, that would be an absolute menace. And going with what you said with Amad, they're young players too. I mentioned the opportunity players like Maguire and Casemiro, young players like Lenny Yoro, Garnacho, Rasmus Højlund, Amad Diallo. You can see that this structure is going to be very good for them in the long run. They're going to know what to do, the positionings. They'll understand the feeling, and they'll know what their colleague next to him is thinking. And that's the problem at Man United. It's the collective. Casemiro would have a brilliant moment. Cristiano Ronaldo, when they beat Tottenham, he had a brilliant moment. But the collective wouldn't play in like a symphony all together. And now, Ruben Amorim, little by little, you can see now Rasmus Højlund in the right place. You can see Casemiro in the leadership role, doing as he should, not doing those long passes, just going nuts, okay, sometimes. And there's a lot more of philosophy that we can see translated on the pitch that comes from preparation. So, with the Champions, if Man United win the Europa League and guarantee Champions League football, and they get like Vitor Gyökeres that I mentioned for Arsenal, but for Man United, if they sign him, That would be insane and the right move to do. And Xerxes could go to Juventus.
No, hopefully not.
Thiago Monte's not there anymore.
He's not there
Sorry.
anymore. I don't think that's a possibility.
But Xerxes could return to Serie A, and yes, a lot more players. He's just more respectful towards players' careers, and I think Man United and the players that are Man United will be in a much better place because they worked under Ruben Amorim, because the rebuild was absolutely inevitable. I'm gonna say that I think I'm leaning towards Man United winning this, because the Bilbao result too was insane, and the way they played in San Mamés, a tough atmosphere. Okay, they dominated in my point of view. Yes, that red card did change the game completely, but I do believe that they would have a favorable result. And then in Old Trafford, we saw what we saw: 1-0 remontada, and that's what seems to happen. We saw the remontada with Lyon, remontada with Athletic Bilbao. There's just this belief with Ruben Amorim, and next season, people are going to start to give me reason when I say that he's better than Arteta, better than Slot is very bold at this moment, but I really believe Ruben is going to change the mind of every Premier League fan. So, let us know in the comment section down below your thoughts about Europa League and who's going to win, and if you agree with my Ruben Amorim thoughts. Serie A now. Comic sauce like we hinted at the start. How are we feeling so? Because Napoli winning the league once again is the right decision of De Laurentiis getting Antonio Conte. Correct, Luca?
Well, I mean, it's a pretty obvious decision to choose Antonio Conte as your manager. I'm not really going to give De Laurentiis any credit there. But
Tottenham fans.
Tottenham, of course, they ranted. But look, I think the title race, very close, of course. But I think what we need to talk about as well is the top four race, because obviously there were three huge top four race games this weekend. Milan, Bologna last night, which Milan were 1-0 down to. Orsolini again with a goal, big game player this season.
Underrated, right?
Very underrated. But Milan turned that game around. So now it's looking a bit more tricky for Bologna to get Champions League places. But now, today there's a big game at 5 p.m. Of course, my team Juventus going to the capital to play Lazio. Big head-to-head game.
And Atalanta Roma. That are unbeaten in 2025 with Ranieri. Like, what the hell?
You've got two games there. Well, let's be honest. I need Juventus to win today against Lazio, and I need Atalanta to beat Roma tomorrow. For Juventus to get Champions League. But this is one of the craziest match weeks in Serie A, in my opinion, that I've seen, because you also still have Napoli, Genoa. Napoli, of course, need to win to try keep that distance, and Inter versus Torino. Inter need to win and hope that Napoli lose.
And Torino away can be very tough. A lot of people may not know.
Exactly. So they have tough games, Inter left, and this good top four race is super, super tight. Even the races for Europa League spots, Conference League spots in Italy. You got Milan. You got Fiorentina, you got Bologna, Juventus, Lazio, Roma.
Mate, you don't think Roma is going to get Champions League football?
I think Roma right now, they're in very good form, like you said.
Wait, what's Ranieri doing?
With Ranieri. It's a very nice story, because they were 4 points above the relegation zone when Ranieri joined. And Ranieri was, obviously, he came out in retirement. He said the only two teams he'd come out of retirement for are Cagliari, who he helped get back in Serie A not long ago, and Roma, who obviously was an ex-manager there. That's his club too. And he's going to leave at the end of the season. He's not staying. That's 100% confirmed. So let's just say, even if he was to bring them back into Europa League football, considering where they were, that's still a very big achievement for him and the club. But if he was to obviously take them to Champions League football, it would be an absolute dream for them and their fans. But as poetic as it may sound for a neutral, I can't have that, because I need Juventus in Champions League. So I couldn't care less about his storyline.
And it's like Daniel De Rossi leaves, Ranieri comes on. Nobody was expecting this, and De Rossi.
Well, no, they got Juric.
Exactly.
They got Juric
sorry.
In between. They replaced De Rossi with Juric.
And then and De Rossi replaces Mourinho. Like, Ace Roma fans, it's like a roller coaster for them. And now at the end of this roller coaster ride, as it seems, they're fighting for Champions League football. And I've been told by some mates that follow a lot Roma fans, that Svilar, they say he's one of the best keepers in Serie A. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Svilar that was at Benfica?
Yeah, he's got most clean sheets in Serie A, and I think if you were to do a team of the season, I haven't done my video yet, I will. It'd be between him and De Gea for the keeper role, in my opinion, which is really impressive. So no,
But De Gea got the Anthony Humble Pie this week.
he did, but he still kept them in the game. He was still
True.
Fiorenina's best player, to be fair. So De Gea deserves a lot of credit.
No, that is true. That is true. Is there a star player in this Roma team, though? Because Matthias Sule, he's very, very talented. I remember when you spoke to me about him when he was at Juventus.
Of course there is, Alex. Come on, man.
Gonna say Sule.
No, come on, man. Think.
Pellegrini.
No, bro. There's one, the jewel, the crown jewel of the team. Who is it? Paulino, Dybala, bro. Of course, Dybala.
Of course, mate. Okay, of course.
He's injured, man. He's injured at the minute. He's been injured for the last month or so, yet to have surgery, but he's, of course, the best player by a mile. But, yeah, I mean, they're doing really well considering the fact when they lost him, I think a lot of people were saying, look, he's not going to, they're going to struggle without him. And naturally, you'd think that as well, but players have stepped up, like Dovbyk getting goal contributions, Matthias Sule, like you said.
Correct.
Cristante in the midfield. But of course, their main man is Paulino. So
Paulo Dybala back at the top. You said it. Paulo Dybala is your favorite player that you've ever seen at Juventus, correct?
Juventus, yeah.
Special
He's,
player.
of course, yeah. I love Paulo. I love what he did with the club, and I wish we kept him. I wish we did keep him, but.
But with Juventus, just at the end, or like, so, is there a transfer target that you really want for Juventus? Because remember when you said I wouldn't guess Dean Huijsen, and I did. That could be a player that could go to Juventus.
Of course, I would love Dean back. But I'm going to give you two players, Alex, that I think you'll appreciate because they're not big names. As in, my two signings I'd make straight away in the summer. Are not obvious signings, not ones that other clubs will be looking at, in my opinion. There's one called Giovanni Leoni, centre-half of Parma. Very, very good player. I think December 2006. Young, technical, solid in the air, wins his aerial duels, physically strong. And I watched him against Juventus, and he put up a really, really good performance, and I was really interested in by him. And I think he'd be reasonable price. He wouldn't be too expensive. Very young, like I said, and I think he would be a great signing. And one that I think would be incredible as well. These two fellas that play for Spezia in Serie B, the Esposito brothers. But I would go with, of course, the striker. Everyone probably knows the striker because he's on loan from Inter. He's top scorer in Serie B. But I would go for
Federico Esposito, right?
Not Federico. I forgot the brother's name.
Got you.
But the brother I'm talking about that I want is Salvatore Esposito, the midfielder. He's a number 6. I think he has 7 goals and 9 assists in the league already. Very, very good midfielder. I think he's 24 years of age. He's not too young, but also, he is young, of course. 24 is young, but he's not like a youngster under 21. But he's a really good midfielder, and I really want him at the club. But what's the brother's name? I think
it's Salvatore, Francesco, and Sebastiano.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
All 3 of them. Insane.
All 3 of them. I want Salvatore, the midfield. I think he's top. Leoni as well. I think these would be 2 really, really good signings to start with. And I don't think they'd cost too much. I think we could probably get them both for 30-odd million, maybe a little bit more. And they'd be good.
Serie B, he's got 16 goals scored at the age of 19.
Very
this is
good.
A special talent. Special talent. And shout out to Filippo Inzaghi, the brother of Simone Inzaghi, to get Pisa
back in Serie A. First time I think
surprised.
In 55 years or something. It would be nice to see them back. They got a nice stadium as well, right by the Leaning Tower of Pisa. So.
Fantastic.
That's a good little team to have back.
Oh, but yes, thank you so much, JFTV Luca, for being here at the FC Wonderkid episode 29. All socials, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Juventus YouTube too will be down below in the YouTube description. Thank you so much, Luca. You're striving. I'm sure you're gonna achieve so much success, and I'm sure we're gonna talk again. It's been such a privilege. Thank you so much, Luca. And thank you to you that are listening until now. 5 stars on Spotify goes a long way. And we're also on Apple Podcasts, which the link will be in the description if you rather listen on those platforms. Thank you, community, for going bold until now. And thank you for listening to episode 29.